Is poker in Vegas dead? Let me answer that by giving you 5 hand histories just from January of this year. Okay, I wanted to do this outside, but it's like incredibly windy, and I found this shack next to a diner. Don't know what it used to be. Now it looks like people come here and just drop off garbage and leave. Anyway, first hand, I had pocket 5s. A guy had queen 5. This was at MGM. The flop was king queen 5. On the flop, he checked, I bet, he called. On the turn, he checked, I bet, he called. On the river, he checked. I think I bet 25 on the river. He just seemed so weak. I was actually mad at myself after I bet the 25 that I bet that much, because I didn't think he could possibly have a strong enough hand to call. He thought about it, and he called. And he showed 2 pair, and I showed the 3 5s. In Council Bluffs, in Baltimore, in Milwaukee, he would bet the flop, I would raise, and he would flip the table over, getting all in, and I win everything he has that hand. I mean, he could have hit 2 queens on the Turner River. He didn't. So that run out, I would stack them. Instead, I think I made like $50 from him, maybe. Second hand, Aria. I had ace queen of hearts, guy had king 10 of hearts. On the turn, there's no full house possible, and there are 3 hearts. I have the nuts, the nut flush. Against him, he has the second nut flush, which is the second nuts. He checked, I bet, he called. On the river, he checked, same thing. I think I bet like 30, because he just seemed so weak. He never wanted to bet, he never looked to raise, he never pondered raising at any point. He called, and he had the king high flush. Again, in a ton of other cities, he like check raises me on the turn. I had the lead from pre-flop. I raised pre-flop, I bet the flop. He probably would have check raised the turn, and we get all in on the turn, and that's the end of it. Instead, I got like $55 off of him, or I don't know, maybe a little more. I don't remember every street exactly. I did not win much. Like, I should have won it all in that hand. Third hand, also Aria. I flopped a set, a guy flopped 2 pair. This one wasn't that bad because I think we both checked to the pre-flop raiser. I was looking to check raise, I bet this guy was looking to check raise also, and the pre-flop raiser, who was pretty aggressive pre and on the flop, he checked back. Then on the turn, I think there was like 3 to a straight, 3 to a flush, and on the river there was, I think, 4 to a straight, 3 to a flush. So that pot wasn't that big, but my set against 2 pair held. But I still think in other cities, we get all in somehow. Maybe this guy doesn't, you know, look to check raise, he just like pounds the flop, or, you know, he doesn't really care about 3 to a straight or a flush yet on the turn. He would like be scared if there were 4 to a straight or 4 to a flush, but 3 of each, you know, we could still get a lot of money in on the turn. But I think 2 streets checked post flop, and in other cities I would win a lot more off of him. This one was at Bally's. Out of the blinds, I flopped a full house. I didn't know it, but one guy who had limped flopped trips. I think a little money went in, like flop and turn, and on the river, I just went for it. I went all in, and he folded trips face up. I think a straight was possible, some kind of river gut shot came in, no flush was possible. I mean, in other cities, we would have gotten all in before the river. If we somehow got to the river the way we did, and I go all in, he snap calls, and he shows before I even have a chance to flip my cards. So instead, this hand, I got like 20 bucks off of him, and then he folded the river with his trips. There was a hand at Aria. A guy had queens, I had jacks. Flop was jack 7-7. He took the lead on the flop. He bet the flop, I called. He bet the turn, I called. He bet the river, I raised. And he tank folded an overpair. Again, in other places, when I raised the river, he would like stand up, shoveling all of his chips into the middle, never once in his mind think about folding an overpair. But he tanked, which took forever, by the way, and then he folded queens face up on a jack high board. There's all that garbage behind me. Oh, this looks so nice. It would have been real nice outside. You know, there's like mountains in the background, but just really, really windy. The sound would be terrible. So good thing I found this shack to smoke my cigar. I was barely able to light my cigar. It was so windy. Anyway, last hand. This was at Bally's, and this is a really good indicator of what games are like, because some people, like friends of mine, to a lot of people, Vegas is like the poker mecca of the world, which is the same thing I thought when I moved here in 2015, and I was just dead wrong about it. It's actually the opposite. That's my opinion of it now. So I was playing a hand against a guy from Green Bay in Bally's. It sounded like once a month he has a home game, and I think this was his first time in Vegas, or at least first time playing poker in a casino. So he should be very inexperienced, and this hand that I'm about to say, he should have no problem getting all in. I had pocket nines, he had ace eight of hearts. I flopped a 9, he turned the nuts, his hearts, but the board paired on the river. On the river, I went all in. He must have tanked for about 3 minutes. The only thing he loses to is full houses. It's not like he has a 4 high flush. He has the ace high flush. It's like, yes, he understands it's not the best hand possible, but even someone who's like fine with losing the money and inexperienced and new to casino poker and doesn't even play poker that much, he somehow had this great of a read that he was probably beat. Definitely knew he could be beat. The read was he was probably beat. He came incredibly close to folding his ace high flush. He eventually called, and I doubled up through him. But that is amazing that someone that inexperienced has that good of a read and is that unwilling to just get all in with the ace high flush regardless of the run out. So you would think my answer is yes, poker in Vegas is dead. My answer is no, it's not, because despite all of these hands, and by the way, way more happened. I was keeping track of insane hands like this, and in January there were almost triple. I don't remember every single one and the action on every single one now that we're in May. There were a bunch like this in February, March, April, this month in May. These were just like the first ones when I got here in January that really stuck with me. Despite all this, I can still make a living playing poker in Vegas. So no, poker in Vegas is not dead. Poker is not dead in general. In my opinion, Vegas are the worst games in the country. I've played in a lot of cities, and even despite these types of hands I'm telling you, you can still make a living playing small stakes poker out here. So no, poker is not dead, and I doubt it ever will be.